but at the same time you could do cool stuff like hide in cardboard boxes, throw a dirty magazine in the middle of a bunch of guys and watch as they automatically gawk at it, so you could then plug them in the head.
So now how does that work? Does it actually force the other human players to stop and,
pretty much.
Look at it for a couple seconds?
Although one of the special characters who is based on Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2, he is somehow immune to the guiles of these strange naughty magazines.
Weird.
The naughty magazine actually works basically like a grenade. It's just kind of it's one of the ways in which this game injects this kind of weird tongue-in-cheek humor into what's otherwise this like really authentic-looking military setting. And you'll see these other little hints at that in the online play. Like one of the modes is basically capture the frog. So you've got these guys running around with machine guns and AK-47s and what have you, but there's this crazy little frog doll that you have to pick up and run back to your base with. And another mode has a little ducky that it's like a little rubber ducky, and one team has to defend the ducky, and the other team has to go and get the ducky. So it's hard to understand if you've never played Metal Gear before, but again, I feel like Subsistence does a better job of making this sense of humor understandable in the context of the game the more you play it.
A little more balanced that way.
Yeah, and especially once you get into like some of the secret theater stuff where it has all these parody videos that remix a lot of the key cutscenes from the game. They just took the time to take some of the coolest cutscenes from Metal Gear Solid 3 and totally redo them in a completely insane way, in some cases with new dialogue and just different characters that have no bearing on any of it. So it's got this self-deprecating humor to it that pokes a lot of fun at itself. It's like you can clearly see that these guys are aware of the points of criticism that have been leveled at Metal Gear in the past. And
cool.
You see that manifest itself both in the gameplay, like with the new camera, and also just with some of this fan service parody stuff.
Let's go back to the questions here. Now, as far as like the front end goes, we have a question from Tim in Altamont IL, who wants to know, what can we expect with the online portion in regards to clan support and buddy lists? I mean, in addition to that, like how does the whole front end work for player matching and stuff like that?
The front end works quite well. It has a buddy list. It also has a blacklist for people you don't want to play with. I don't think it has clan support, but it does have this lobby-based system, including like a beginner's lobby where you could just jump in there, hit a quick match, and dive right into your mode of choice. So you could say, sneaking mission, that's the one where one player is Snake and the rest of the players are trying to hunt him down. You could say, I want a quick play sneaking mission, and it'll throw you into a game really quickly. You have to set up an account. It's tied to stats tracking and stuff like that. But that's all quite quick and painless. I found it to be quite painless and easy to get into. And I, even when playing against people in Japan, I haven't really run into lag, even playing over a DSL line. It seems well optimized and all that kind of stuff. Solid code.
Cool. Josh Montgomery from Little Rock, Arkansas wants to know, how many modes are there in MGS3, and is there any customizing your character? I think we covered a lot of the mode
online
stuff. Yes. But yeah, can you customize your character online? How does that work?
So there are 5 different modes, and you can't really customize your character, though there are these special characters that you get, and they're the 3 different factions. The 3 different factions are just a cosmetic difference, and they correspond to the different factions that you run into during the single-player game.
Okay. Patrick from, we're going to say Czechoslovakia here, says, I'd like to know if it's possible to use saves from the original MGS3 in the new Subsistence version. Does any of that stuff carry over?
I don't think that it does. I had a save on this here memory card, and I don't think it carried over. But one of the things it does do, which I note in the review, is that as soon as you have save data in Subsistence, it unlocks like all the cutscenes right off the bat. So you don't need to have finished the game to get at all the content right away.
Cool.
Which is cool if you're familiar with the game, but might not be cool if you're a first-time player, because you could be tempted into spoiling the whole plot for yourself by just running around and looking at cutscenes.
Right.
So.
Eric from New York asks, is there a 2-player option in the multiplayer? Is all the multiplayer online? Is there any kind of offline multiplayer?
It is all online multiplayer. There isn't offline multiplayer.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no... It has these other... There are these other bonus games in there. You could play the original Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2 for the MSX, which are Japanese computer systems.
And in fact, Scott from California wants to know how well are the new English translations done?
They're done quite well. These games have never been officially translated into English in this form, as far as I know. A lot of us know the original Metal Gear game for the Nintendo Entertainment System, but this is actually the MSX version. And you could see the difference right off the bat. Like, you get out of water and there are these big tanks out there. It's like a different first scene than the original NES game. Apparently they're based in part on, there's some updates in there. They're based in part on Japanese mobile phone versions of these games. So in Metal Gear 2, you actually see like contemporary looking character art, like Snake has his bandana and looks like Snake as we know him today, stuff like that. So I think one of the really neat things about the inclusion of these two games is that it ties the whole story together, because the Metal Gear Solid 3 is basically the origin story of the Metal Gear series, and then the original Metal Gear game kind of follows suit from that, where Big Boss, the character from Metal Gear Solid 3, is actually giving Solid Snake his orders. So it all kind of ties together that way. You start to get a feel for what
how
the story is. Yeah, how it all began and how it all fits together.
Cool. Edward from Toronto wants to know, is the 8-player for multiplayer enough? Do the maps feel too big? Are the maps the right size for the player count?
The maps really feel just right. They're designed for 8 players, so there's a good fit to them where they feel tight, but they're not crowded. So you often get that problem when like games are handed down, say from the PC to the PlayStation 2 or something, where a map that was originally designed for 16 players, you've only got 8 players in there and it feels too big. These maps do vary in size, but it seems like there's always going to be someone around the next corner, and yet there's not going to be a big crowd in front of you. So again, it just all contributes to that tactical feel where there are different entry points and exit points all around. You could climb under stuff, climb up high so that people can't to get like a good sniping angle at people, all kinds of stuff like that. And there aren't, kind of those dull moments where you're just waiting for something to happen. It seems like someone's always coming around the corner.
Okay, cool. Let's talk a little bit about the limited edition version. Now it's available. There are 2 versions of it. The main version's $30, but then there's an additional $40 version.
Yeah.
And Ronald in LA wants to know, if you can elaborate a little more on what's included in that limited edition version.
The only difference between the limited edition version and the standard edition version is $10 difference in price and the inclusion of a 3rd disc called Existence, which is essentially a movie. It plays in your PS2, and it's just a non-interactive movie of all the Metal Gear Solid 3 cutscenes spliced together, and what you're seeing here is not one of them. This is actually one of the parody videos, again, just poking fun of the much maligned Raiden character from Metal Gear Solid 2. So the third disc, it's pretty cool because you could just throw it in there and watch this big, huge movie. People have often said Hideo Kojima, the designer of Metal Gear, he ought to make a movie because he makes these really cool cutscenes.
Sure.
Well, now he's gone and done it. But you're not really missing that much if you don't get this limited edition, because you've still got the demo theater as part of Subsistence, so you could watch any of the cutscenes that you want to see.
Now, does it treat it as a DVD? Victor in New Jersey wants to know if there's any controller interaction on the 3rd disc.
You can.
Can you hit R1 when Naked Snake hesitates at shaking the president's hand, stuff like that?
I don't think you can interact with it, but you do have like a chapter. You have a chapter select, so you don't have to just watch it start to finish.
Okay. Now, is it actually like a full-on PS2 disc, or is it just treating it like it's a DVD?
I think it is a PS2 disc and not a DVD that you could play in your DVD player.
Okay. Ivan in British Columbia wants to know if he doesn't have